of encountering the Lord through worship, through teaching, ministry, outdoor activities, and time in the prayer room, learning to be discerning and connecting with God for themselves. Our guest speaker, Lenny LaGuardia, will be sharing and giving practical instructions surrounding the laying of hands and healing, all of this culminating up until the last night, in which it is the children that will be laying hands and praying for the sick. There's also a parent track that is running parallel, and I want you to stay tuned for that. More information will be coming up in the weeks ahead. Signs and Wonders 2023 will start on July 25th, that Tuesday night at 7 p.m., and will run through the 28th. Children will not be on the sidelines of what God is doing in these days. Their hearts will burn for Jesus. They will have oil for bright lit lamps, even in the midnight hour. So sign up for Signs and Wonders 2023 and let there be light.
Hey there, I'm Pastor Bernie, and this is my wife Lorraine. And we are thrilled to invite you to an event that will inform and impact the way you approach parenting. The Parent Track for Signs and Wonders is designed to equip parents like you with the tools and the knowledge that you need to raise your children all the way from the crib to college successfully.
Get ready for an amazing 3 days packed with 7 insightful sessions. We'll cover everything from the early years to the challenges of adolescence, helping you navigate every stage of parenting with confidence.
And we know how busy life can get, so we've got you covered. Each session will be held twice a day at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., giving you the flexibility to choose the time that works best for you.
And this is my favorite part, we've secured an incredible venue for this event. The Homewood Suites by Hilton, which is just down the street from IHOP Eastern Gate, will be our home for these 3 days.
Now, our lineup of topics is diverse and designed to share biblical wisdom and practical advice. You will learn about developing character, communicating effectively, and navigating all those challenges in between.
Yeah, we believe that every parent deserves support on this incredible journey. The Signs and Wonders Parent Track is your opportunity to connect with like-minded parents and gain valuable insights from our time together.
So, mark your calendars for July 26th through the 28th and get ready for an unforgettable experience. Invest in your family's future and lead with renewed confidence in your parenting abilities.
Join us for the Parent Track, where parenting becomes an empowering journey, and you'll be equipped to navigate the path ahead with strength and wisdom. Visit our website or call our office to secure your spot today. Link for all of the information is in the bio. See you there.
I'm Joel Pixoto, Director of Student Forerunner Ministries here at IHOP Eastern Gate.
And I'm Belle Diabreu, Youth Leader for SFM. We're inviting all the youth in this New York, New Jersey region to an unforgettable summer intensive taking place this August 14th to 18th.
We're elated about this year's theme, Sojourners. And for those who perhaps are not all caught up in their thesaurus, what are sojourners, Belle? Like, so I'm going on this journey?
Well, not quite, Joel, but you're in the neighborhood. Sojourners are synonymous with foreigners or strangers. To the world, we're just that, strangers who don't belong. But on God's agenda, in our journey of faith, we're passing through this life with the great purpose of pointing others to His Son, Jesus.
Well said, Belle. As believers, we're called to be set apart to make a lasting impact. Abraham sojourned in Egypt, as did Joseph and his brothers. And on occasions, we see the whole of Israel sojourning in Egypt and Babylon. As Jesus alluded to when He prayed for His disciples, we're in this world but not of it. We're just passing through, like a connecting flight. But what does that mean for us? What are we to do in our sojourning? You'll have to come to this year's intensive.
Yeah, and as in previous times, this year's intensive will have a variety of fun sports activities for the youth, each day broken up into powerful times of worship, prayer, deep biblical teachings, interactive games, and small groups, to name a few. You will not want to miss out on this remarkable, life-changing week.
We're in sky-high expectation of what God is going to do in our midst. Register now. Youth Intensive taking place right here, IHOP Eastern Gate. Meet us here, fellow sojourners.
We're now boarding.
We're live.
We're live. We're live. Welcome back. Make some noise there. So yeah, welcome back to Thursday night's End Time Talks special summer tent series, and we're so excited that you're joining us at the 6:30 hour as we begin to unpack, as we've been doing week after week, the End Time timeline, and it's all brought to us through the leadership of Gary D. Pasquale. How are you doing,
Thank
Gary?
you. Doing well.
How you doing?
Good
Doing well?
day. Yeah,
Hi.
good day today.
It's a great day
Director
under
of
the
the
tent.
Children's
We're
Equipping
here under the
Center
Freedom
here
Tent on the front
at
lawn of
IHOP
IHOP
Eastern
Eastern Gate, as we are every Thursday, and we invite you to come and join us every Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. as we prepare. You could bring a refreshing drink and just join us here comfortably as we unpack the End Time timeline. And before we go into tonight's topic, let's talk about some of the things that are going on in just the next week ahead.
Big week coming up.
Yeah, it's probably the largest week of our year after Return Conference. It's one of the most significant events that we have going on here at the House of Prayer, and it's known as Signs and Wonders Kids Conference.
Right.
Or Kids Camp, as some people call
Kids-
it camp.
yeah, it's a
really,
conference.
It's a conference for young people. And perhaps one of the distinguishing characteristics about it is that it's not a camp where kids just play all day.
Right.
They are trained and equipped in the scriptures and in the activation of ministry.
Yes.
As they go deep in the word and deep in worship in the prayer room.
We're talking
and they
about
have
like
times of fun.
5 years old to.
It's like to 13,
13,
I believe it
right?
is. Yeah, it's an amazing and intensive
So we
camp.
have close to 100
Yeah,
that
I
are
heard.
coming for a whole week,
Whew, it's
and we're going to
exciting.
train them, and then we end the week in a regional service of healing.
That's right. That's one of the most powerful nights
Amazing.
ever. Yeah, the kids are actually released to go and pray for the sick who are in the audience. And it's just an amazing thing to witness the faith of a young child being released to go and pray for signs and wonders and healings. That's
So
amazing.
if you're sick in your body, or you know someone that is,
That's right.
you want to bring them next Friday,
Next Friday night.
at 7 o'clock.
I
But
believe it's at
they'll
7.
see stuff online.
Absolutely.
Right?
We'll be promoting that as we get closer and
Yeah.
closer to the date. But the good news is, and many of you are watching, you're perhaps wishing your child could join. Registration is still open, I believe, until
Oh.
this Sunday.
Okay.
Is that correct? I believe this Sunday is when registration ends, so you can still register your child. You want to make sure that you register them before this Sunday because space is limited and registration will close on that Sunday.
And I'll give you a little secret. If you forget to register Sunday and you show up, I might let you in.
Find this man right here. He'll make a way for you.
They always give me a hard time, but I'm a softie.
You're making enemies on the staff here.
It's true.
But nevertheless, it is true. That is you have a back door if you can't get in. But make sure you register before Sunday. Now, for this year, one of the things that we're doing new is that we've introduced something that we had in a minor way, but now it's a little bit larger, is the parent track.
Yeah.
And the parent track runs concurrently with the Signs and Wonder Camp. So while the kids are in their conferences and in their trainings, we have created a separate track for parents to participate
Yeah.
in as well.
Yeah.
And it's not even on site. It's right down the street from us at the Homewood Suites by
Nice.
Hilton. And we're really excited about that.
Okay.
I was just there today. They already have the sign on the door.
Great.
The room is set up. And all we need is parents to come and join us. And it doesn't matter whether your children are in the camp or not. If you are in the region and you would like to receive biblical training on how to raise and equip your children in your own home
Yeah.
for your own family's sake to the glory of the Lord, join us for that. And registration is also available on our social media platforms as well as on the IHOP EG app.
Right.
And registration space is even much more limited. We have a limited capacity, so make sure you register as soon as possible.
Yeah. So if your child is in the camp,
That's right.
you want to be part of the parent
Absolutely,
track for sure.
absolutely.
But if you don't have a child in the camp, you can still do the parent track.
You can still do the parent
That's really
track.
good.
And the greatest news of all, I just got in the last 24 hours, is that we are making it even more affordable now. So if you are interested and if money has been in any way an issue, it is now even more affordable. We have slashed the price, and so you're able to join us. So go ahead and check the link for more information so that you can register yourself, your spouse, and any other family members that have children so they can be equipped for these tools as well.
It'd be great.
Super exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
And then let me just say this. In a couple
Sure.
more weeks, then 3 weeks later,
Right.
we open up the same kind of conference, but it's week-long for teenagers.
Yeah.
And we call that Summer Youth Intensive. And we're super excited about that. This year's theme is Sojourning, where we're talking to the kids about how to be in this world and not of it, living for Christ
Yeah.
in a godless world. And we're really excited about what the Lord is doing
It's
there.
so important, especially in today's day, in the school system, getting ready to
Yeah.
go back out into the world in that kind of way, to be fully equipped, prepared They make lifelong friends.
Yeah.
They're encouraged with each other to walk into this new school year with the gospel, with the assurance of their salvation. It's essential.
That's it. That's
And
absolutely right.
how many kids
That's a
can we
good
do?
word for it.
About 50?
We do about 60 kids.
60.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we're already well positioned to hit that 60 mark again. So
Right.
space is limited. Register your team today.
Yeah.
That's so important. And we have scholarships available for those who have financial struggles.
Okay.
All right, I'm excited about tonight, though. Today,
Tonight's
I'm excited
good.
about tonight. So what are we talking about tonight?
So tonight is going to be, we're going to take this session and probably the next one, talk about the Antichrist.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, dun, dun, dun.
Right?
Right? So, and it's not mysterious. It's not like figure out the name. Is it this president, that world leader? You know, and it's been almost everybody. You know,
Their name shouldn't have 6 letters in
yeah,
it.
do the gematria and figure out the numbers that match. Ronald Reagan was
Right,
the last
Ronald
guy I remember, and then it's moved from there. Whoever you like or don't like is the Antichrist. But the Bible's really clear on it, and we're gonna go over that.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
let's do it.
so
Are you guys
let's do it.
ready?
All right.
Turn it over to you.
So if you don't have the notes, you want to grab them. They're up front here. You get in the back row. You all got it? Okay. All right. So we'll get to those. I mean, the notes aren't really notes. They're all the scriptures that we go over, so you can kind of take them home and look into them on your own. So we'll get to those scriptures in a second. I left the timeline up because we're really not going to touch now the timeline. Last week, we went over, and every week, we've been building this timeline. And we got to the end, finally, last week, where we've introduced the millennial kingdom. Now, we're going to do a whole session on the millennial kingdom. We'll get there. But what's important to know now is this character that we've been talking about, the abomination of desolation, the Antichrist, and what does the scripture say about the Antichrist? How we're supposed to look for him? Do we even bother looking for him? That type of information. So that's what I want to go over today. And again, it's going to take, I'm going to try to get as much as I can in this session. It might take 2. We'll see how we go. So the first thing we do, whenever we talk about the Antichrist, the place that we land is Revelation chapter 13. So if you have your Bibles, which you should, or your phones, yeah. Revelation 13. Now, most of the information that we get about the Antichrist in pop culture is from Revelation 13. And really, like 2 verses is all that pop culture, pop Christian culture, I guess, focuses on. Pop culture only focuses on 1 verse, and actually one part of 1 verse, 3 numbers, 666. You say 666, it just sends an emotion through a lot of people. If you on your grocery bill are charged $66.06, you buy a pack of gum. All right? So you don't want anything to do with that number. And I understand. I'm not trying to say, we shouldn't be aware of that number. But we're going to look on where that comes from and how the world uses it in the wrong way, and how the church really stays away from it to the degree it just is sticking out there, floating in the air. Okay, so Revelation 13 is where we're starting, verse 1. Okay, now we are in, if you remember last week, the way the book of Revelation is laid out is that there's a narrative about activity, what happens chronologically, this, and then this happens, then this happens. Then there's a pause. Every now and then there's a pause, and there's information given about the activity that just took place. Okay, so it's like watching the movie, pausing the movie, explaining what's happening, and then restarting the movie so you understand the characters and the plot and so forth. Revelation 11, well, really it's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, almost all the way, I would say, to 19 is this series of starts and stops. Now, once you know the storyline, it's pretty easy to know what's starting and what's stopping. Okay, when you're reading it, they're giving, like in chapter 10, suddenly John going, and there was this large scroll, and the scroll was open, and there was this small scroll, and then I was explaining what's in the scrolls. That's obviously a narrative to the activity. And then it kind of gives, and then there's these two witnesses, and these two witnesses show up, and they're going to be around for this amount of days. So it's giving, once again, a synopsis of the story. But then it says, and then at the end of the week, they're killed, and now you know you're in activity, because he's saying they lay in the street, and after 3.5 days, they rise. All right, so we're back into the action, and then it pauses again, and it goes to chapter 12. And chapter 12 is like, there is this constellation in the stars, a woman with stars around her head. And so you know that it's not the next thing to happen. It's another pause because you're getting information, okay? 13 is a pause. It's explaining more of the characters that are involved. So far we got two witnesses. We have Israel. We have Jesus, the Messiah, is mentioned in chapter 12. And now we're at 13. So it's giving us another character look. So it starts at verse 1. It says, then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, his mouth like the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world marveled and followed the beast. So they worshiped the dragon, who gave authority to the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him? All right, that's 4 verses. Packed. It's loaded. And probably if you were just reading this on your own, you checked out at the 7 heads, because you're just kind of going, how many 7 crowns with what? A name? And there's a dragon? Like, where did the dragon come from? How did the dragon get involved in this? All right, so you got to look at these images and understand that they're images with definition. And we've already been given definition of these images if you are understanding all of Scripture. For instance, we know who the dragon is. Those that have been taking the class. Who's the dragon? You remember? Satan. How do you know that? The Bible told us. Do you remember where? Just one chapter previous. So in chapter 12, go back to verse 7. War broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon. Well, there it is. And the dragon and his angels fought. They did not prevail, and there was no longer a place found for them in heaven. So the great dragon was cast out. Can't stop there, because we still don't know who this dragon is. Keep going. It's that serpent, that old serpent. So you're going, all right, the serpent of old. Let's talk about the serpent in the garden. He's called the devil and Satan. He deceives the whole world. All right, so we know who the dragon is. So every time a dragon is mentioned now in Scripture, you know who it is. It refers to the devil, Satan. It has reference as a dragon because it was a little snake. It was a snake in the garden, and now it's a strong, when you think of a dragon, you think of something stronger, right? Something a little more powerful than a snake. Okay. So, Revelation 13 still. We know that this dragon in verse 2 gives this beast his power, his throne, and great authority. So he gives this beast the power that he has, that he's been given. And remember, Satan is powerless. He only has the power that God allows him to have. Okay, so God's in control of everything. He's not surprised. He's not going, wow, this is a big dragon. He's in control of it. All right. So this dragon gives this beast his power. He gives him his throne. Now, throne means that he gives him his authority over principalities. All right, like empire. Gives him his authority. And then he gives him the word great authority, means that he has power over people. So he has power over a nation and the authority over people. All right. And we know that his head is mortally wounded and his wound is healed, and everyone worships the dragon because of the beast. All right, so who is this beast? To understand who this beast, you have to go back to something. It's the same scriptures that Jesus has been telling us to understand. Where do we, Matthew 24, Jesus says, let him understand who? Daniel. So we go back to Daniel. Daniel's the one who's received all of this information prior to the book of Revelation. So where do we go first? Let's go all the way back to Daniel. We're going to go to chapter 2. Because we knew last time when Jesus mentioned Daniel to go to chapter 9 because he talked about the abomination of desolation. All right, and now we're talking about empires and kings and authorities, okay? So I said chapter 2, right? I don't want to go chapter 2 yet. Let's go to chapter 7. Let's start in chapter 7. We'll get back to chapter 2. But now Revelation 13 tells us there's this beast, and this beast has 7 heads, has crowns, 10 crowns, okay? So keep that in mind. And now we're at chapter 7 of Daniel, verse 1. Daniel had a dream and visions of his head while on his bed. Then he wrote down the dream, telling the main facts. So Daniel has a dream, and Daniel is in his 70s here. Okay, so remember he was exiled to Babylon when he was a teenager. So he's been there 50 years already. And now he has this dream. And Daniel spoke, saying, I saw in my vision by night, behold, the 4 winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea. Okay, the great sea is not just a random ocean, but it's talking about the sea that would be in connection to where he's located. Daniel is in Babylon. All right, so we kind of have an idea where Babylon is. It's east of Israel. The great sea that Israel sits on is what sea? The Mediterranean. All right, so that would what would be called the great sea. So he saw the 4 winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea, and 4 great beasts came out from the sea, each different from the other. The first was like a lion, verse 5, because I just want to hit the main parts of the vision. Another beast, the second one was like a bear. Verse 6, and look, there was another one like a leopard. And then I saw in the night visions, verse 7, behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong, huge iron teeth, devouring, breaking in pieces, trampling the residue with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. All right, now we just read this in Revelation 13. We read about the 7 heads. We read about the 10 horns, about a beast rising up from the sea. All right, so Daniel is giving us a lot of information here. John is looking at the Mediterranean from where he is. He's on the Isle of Patmos, right, which is just off of the coastline of Turkey. That's where he is. And he's seeing the great sea, and he sees his beast, Revelation 13. You should probably keep your finger there. Or if you have a phone or whatever, you can go back and forth. Come on. Come on. 12, 13. Okay. Okay, out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, on its horns 10 crowns. All right. We got 4 beasts, but the 4th one is dreadful. It had 10 horns. Okay, verse 8. I was considering the horns, and there was another horn, a little one, coming up among them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked out of the roots, and there in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking pompous words. All right, so there's another little horn. that actually kind of has human features, and it's speaking proudful, blasphemous words. Okay. Pause on that vision. Now Daniel goes, then I watched till thrones were put into place, and I saw the Ancient of Days was seated. That's God. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame with wheels like burning fire. Now we get a little information on God's throne. It's mobile. It's more of a chariot throne. He's got flaming wheels on his throne. That's pretty cool. Fiery steam issued and came forth from before him. 1,000 thousands ministered to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were opened. Woo. Very dramatic. I watched then because of the sound of the pompous words which the horn was speaking. And then I watched till that beast, that fourth beast, was slain, its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. Hell, the pit, Hades. As for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away. Their lives were prolonged for a short time. In other words, they ruled for a short time, but all of their dominion was taken away also. Turn the page. Well, turn the page. Turn the page in my Bible. Verse 13, I was watching in the night visions, and then, behold, one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. We're familiar with that. First time we hear of the Son of Man in the clouds. He came up to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. Then to him was given dominion and glory and the kingdom, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom the one which shall not be destroyed. Okay, so we know who that is. That's Messiah. That's his kingdom that will not be taken away. The whole earth will be part of this kingdom. Okay, verse 15. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit within my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near to the one of those who stood by and asked him the truth of this vision, and he told me and made me known the interpretation of these things. Verse 17, those great beasts, which are four, are also four kings, which arise out of the earth. So they're beasts with kings. If you're a king, you're just not a king on your own. You have to have a kingdom. It's an empire. Okay, so it's the beast represents an empire, and it has four kings that rule over them. But the saints of the Most High shall receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then I wished to know the truth about the fourth beast, which was different from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, with its teeth of iron, its nails of bronze, which devoured, broke in pieces, and trampled the residue with its feet. And the 10 horns that were on its head, and the other horn which came up before which 3 fell, namely, that horn which had eyes and a mouth which spoke pompous words, whose appearance was greater than his fellows. I was watching. And the same horn was making war against the saints and prevailing against them. It's giving us some clues there. We already know about a leader that's going to come against the saints and prevail. Prevailed against them until the Ancient of Days came, and a judgment was made, the day of the Lord, in favor of the saints of the Most High, and the time came for the saints to possess the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on the earth, which shall be different from the other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it in pieces. The 10 horns are 10 kings who shall arise from this kingdom, and another shall rise after them. He shall be different from the first ones, and shall subdue 3 kings. He shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, and shall attend to change times and law. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time and times and half a time. Okay, what is that? Time, times, and half a time. Time is the number 1. Times is the number 2. Half a time is half of a 1. Add it all up for me. 3.5. We're given a clue. How long will he be able to prevail against, have his time of persecution or prevail? 3.5 years. The saints shall be given into his hand, and he shall have power for times and half a time, or 3.5 years. Verse 26, but the court shall be seated, they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it forever. And then the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdoms under the whole heaven shall be given to the people. Who? The saints of the Most High. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him. Okay. Revelation 13, we have these little pictures of the Daniel 7 vision. So what we're told is that Revelation 13, this beast rising out of the sea, using Daniel 7 as the key, we know that the beast is an empire. Okay? And we also know that this empire is an empire that has 10 crowns, 7 heads, 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns. All right, so that's referencing Daniel. So we have a right to look into Daniel in that way. All right, so we're standing in Daniel 7. Now go back to Daniel 4. Nope, not Daniel 4, sorry. Not Daniel 4. Where do I want to go? All right, we'll go back to Daniel 2. That's where I want to go, Daniel 2. Okay, so Daniel 2, it's another dream. Okay, we have another dream going on. And in this dream, this is the one that Nebuchadnezzar has. King Nebuchadnezzar is the king of Babylon. He's the king that brought Israel into exile. Okay. Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. He doesn't remember the dream, but he remembers he was impacted from it. He asked all his magicians, you got to tell me the interpretation of this dream. And they're going, all right, tell us the dream. He goes, no, I don't remember it. So you got to tell me the dream and the interpretation. So they're like, we're in over our head. But this Daniel guy's pretty sharp. This young kid that we got from Israel. Let's ask him. And Daniel goes to the Lord, and the Lord gives him revelation. And he goes to the king. He goes, I'm going to tell you your dream, and I'm going to interpret for you. Okay, that's where we're at. Okay, so we're in Daniel 2, and we'll start, 28's kind of cool. He's talking to Nebuchadnezzar. Go to 27. Daniel answers to the king. Well, the king says, are you able to make known to me the dream which I've seen and its interpretation? Daniel says, the secret which the king has demanded, the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers, they cannot declare to the king. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has made known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what's going to happen in the latter days. So I love that Daniel's going, your guys couldn't do it. My God can do it. And he's made known to you even, you, a pagan king. Verse 31. So you, O king, were watching, and behold, you saw a great image. This great image, whose splendor was excellent, stood before you, and its form was awesome. This image head was of fine gold, its chest, arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. You watched while a stone was cut out without hands, which struck the image on its feet of iron and clay and broke them in pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were all crushed together and became like chaff from the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away. No trace of them was found. And the stone that struck the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. This is the dream. Now we will tell the interpretation of it before the king. I love Daniel. You, O king, are king of kings, for the God of heaven has given you a kingdom. That's pretty cool. He doesn't acknowledge the God of heaven, but Daniel's going, you're a king over all the kings. You're like really victorious because God's letting you do that. My God, the God that you brought his people into exile, allows you to be king. Where am I? And has given you a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. Wherever the children of men dwell, or the beasts of the field, birds of the heaven, he has given them into your hands. He has given them into your hands and has made you ruler over them all. You are the head of gold. So he doesn't prop him up. He's propping up God. He's magnifying God. He's going, you think it's you. It's not. As great as you are, God's giving you all of this. You're the head of gold. But after you shall rise another kingdom, will be inferior to yours, then another, a third kingdom of bronze, which shall rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, inasmuch as iron breaks in pieces and shatters and crushes. That kingdom will break in pieces and crush all the others. Whereas you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, that kingdom shall be divided, yet the strength of the iron shall be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with ceramic clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly fragile or brittle. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. And in the days of these kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people. It shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Wow. Okay. Let's get some graphics up. Okay. So that's a depiction of what Nebuchadnezzar saw. And in this dream, we're given information. The head of gold is who? All right, you can follow along if you're looking. We're in the interpretation, which begins at verse 38. Okay, it's Nebuchadnezzar. Now, Nebuchadnezzar is a king, but to have a king, you need to have a kingdom. Okay, so he's saying, Nebuchadnezzar, you're the king, but you're the king that represents an empire. And what is that empire? Babylon. Okay, and then it says, what's the next thing it says? Verse 39. After you shall rise another kingdom. And that is, and then a third kingdom, right? So we got two. We got the kingdom, which is the chest of arms and of silver. That's another kingdom that's coming. Now, Nebuchadnezzar is being told he's going to be defeated. Understand what he's being told here. You don't want to hear that you're being defeated, right? So you're getting information so that you're not defeated. But history has given us the information he was defeated. And there was a kingdom, there was a people that came and overthrew Babylon. And they were Medo-Persia. Okay? So Babylon was overthrown by Medo-Persia. So that they came and took over Babylon. And then it says there's going to be another kingdom that's going to come, and that's going to conquer this kingdom, the Medo-Persia. And that was the kingdom of Greece. No. Is it E at the end? I know that looked funny. Okay. Yeah, all right. They took over the Medo-Persians. Okay. So far that's history. And then we have a fourth kingdom. The fourth kingdom, let's see, third kingdom, bronze, verse 40. The fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, inasmuch as iron breaks in pieces, shatters everything, and like iron crushes, that kingdom will break in pieces and crush all the others. Okay, so there's this fourth kingdom. Daniel interprets Nebuchadnezzar's dream that this is a special kingdom. It crushes, it's ruthless, it's ferocious. Now think about the dream in Daniel 7. Fourth kingdom, strange teeth and crushing, trampling. It's powerful. Okay. Traditionally, people say that fourth kingdom is Rome. Okay? And then there's these toes, these feet, and they have 10 toes, number 10, and it's mixed with iron and clay. Not a very good mix. Okay? So it's got some strength, but it also has some weak parts in it. Okay? And they say that is a final kingdom that will come and will conquer all the other kingdoms. But this final kingdom is going to be struck by something. There's this. That's a rock. There's this rock. And it says that this rock will be thrown at this final kingdom. And when this rock hits the final kingdom, what's going to happen? Everything else comes down. We're at verse 35. This rock the stone, and strikes the image, and the whole thing comes down, and then the stone becomes a great mountain, and this mountain fills the earth. So all of this comes down, and then this rock becomes a great mountain. Okay? Whenever you see mountains, almost all prophetic language has mountains as empires or kingdoms. Okay? So this rock destroys all these kingdoms, and it doesn't replace these kingdoms. It actually becomes a great kingdom that actually comes over the whole earth, and its rulership is forever. All right, so we know who that is. All right, we know that's the Messianic kingdom. Messianic. We know the stone that the builders rejected is Jesus. And we know that Jesus of his government, there will be no end, righteousness from sea to sea. It just expands in righteousness in the millennial kingdom. So we know what that is. Okay. So what we need to find out is this and the final kingdom, because the final kingdom is Revelation 13. That beast that comes out of the sea is the final kingdom of Daniel chapter 2. So if this is Rome, we got to find out who the final kingdom is. But we have a question. Is Rome the next kingdom that conquered Greece? Traditionally, everybody says yes. Rome was the next major power of the earth. That's true. But did it conquer Greece, Medo-Persia, or Babylon? Let's take a look. That's Nebuchadnezzar's, the shaded area. That's his kingdom. Okay, so the next kingdom that comes will conquer Babylon, right? And it expand. The Medo-Persians expanded actually out even further in their takeover. So did the Medo-Persia, Babylon is the circle, did it take over Babylon? Yes or no? Yes. So far, this dream is accurate. Medo-Persia consumed Babylon, took it over. All right, and then Greece came. Okay, Greece, you see Babylon, the circle? Did Greece consume the Medo-Persians and Babylon land? Right? So far, yes. Okay. So now we look at Rome. That's the conquest of Rome. Now, did Rome take over Babylon? No. Did it take over Greece? Some of it. Some of it. Did it take over Medo-Persia? Very little. Did it, and we know it did take over Babylon. So Rome actually never got past the outer edge of Syria. It had Israel, But we're not focused on Israel. This is Nebuchadnezzar's dream. This is all about Babylon. It's not about Israel. Rome never, in all of the time they had, which is I think 1,500 years, they never touched the Middle East. They tried. They went in. They had it for a couple of months, even a little bit in Babylon, but then they were pushed back, and they just gave up on it because it was costing them too much money. Rome was not about shattering. Rome was not about destroying. Rome was about conquering for one purpose: money. That's it. They want taxes. So whenever they conquered a land, they would not destroy the land. They would take the people and get them set up. They wouldn't destroy them. They wouldn't enslave them because slaves cost money. They would get them set up in business, and they would tax them, overtax them. And then they would build roads, and they would build avenues for anywhere that they conquered to get them back to Rome. Why? So the money flows. So they would try to get into Babylon, and guerrilla warfare, they just kept getting beaten back. They'd get a little bit and then beaten back again, and they said, we're not getting any money. This war is costing us too much money, pull back. All right, so Rome is disqualified. Rome never conquered Babylon, okay? But there was a group that did. And this group actually not only conquered Rome, but it took over everything. This group here finally came in, and they took all of this land, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, pushed back Rome, and even took parts of Africa in it. This group is called the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans was an empire that started in Turkey, was a part of Turkey, and they began to conquer the parts that Rome wasn't touching. So they didn't care. So they kept building armies. Saudi Arabia, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Turkey. And then they started to move into the areas that Rome was in charge of. And finally, Rome fell. And when Rome fell, the Ottomans took all of their land. But they did something different. They didn't care about money. They wanted conquest. So everybody that they took over had to speak Arabic. They had to be Islamic, or they would die. They actually changed the identity of people. They shattered, they broke into pieces, they trampled. Okay, they were a powerful, destructive force that was built on taking over everything, renaming things, changing languages, changing times, changing laws, changing the seasons. They did all of that. They were what Daniel saw in Revelation chapter 7. They were an empire that was different from all the others. For some reason, they weren't motivated by money. They were motivated by conquest. And when you're motivated by conquest, you have a different set of rules. You do some really intense things. You land in the area of terrorism. That's what conquest does, okay? So according to history, the group that would have taken over Greece, Medo-Persia, and Babylon would have been the Islamic Caliphate, known as the Ottoman Empire. Now, this Ottoman Empire ruled for 1,400 years. That's how long they ruled. They lost rule in 1923. That's not that long ago. They're ruling this whole area into World War I, and then were defeated in 1923 in World War I, but most of the defeat was the new ruler, Mustafa Ataturk, the father of Turks, Ataturk, that's what that means. He actually went, you know what? There's a money machine that that European countries are part of, and we're just kind of falling apart because their money machine has quite a military that's just taken over everything. Maybe we should look more like them. So they actually pulled all the way back and became a democracy. 1923, the Ottoman Empire pulled back because they were all still Islamic, but they pulled back from these countries ruling over them and took over Turkey. And they said, let's just stay in Turkey, and we're going to become a democracy. Not a real one, but a democracy that of people that look like a democracy enough where those European people that have all the money and the big war machines, they'll kind of like us. And we'll get along together, and maybe we can make some of that money, and then maybe we can build a big military. And then after we kind of get that all together, then we'll make our move. That was the plan. It was a written down plan. Now, it's not the way I said it. It's definitely verbalized a lot better. But that's basically the plan of the Ottoman Empire. Okay, so let's just fast forward for a second here. What do we see in Turkey? Turkey is a democratic nation as far as American government is concerned. We've given them nuclear weapons. They have nuclear weapons because we can trust them. They're a democracy. They're allies. Okay, and then this Erdogan guy, president, gets in power. And just a couple of years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, there's this uprising in Turkey to put down Erdogan's power. Erdogan takes over the country, shuts down the press. Teachers go to prison. He takes over the military to protect Turkey. But what he's doing really is he's consolidating power. And now Erdogan has been known all of these years to give speeches about a revived Ottoman Empire. His goal is to revive the Ottomans. Now, he's verbalized it. He's said it. Nobody's threatened by that because, okay, become an Ottoman in Turkey. Be the revived Ottoman Empire. But what he's trying to do, what this means is, he wants all of this back. He wants what belonged to the Ottomans back. And he wants to be the catalyst, not necessarily the ruler, and I'm not calling him the Antichrist. I don't think he is. But he's a catalyst to begin this revival that is a revival of this. So, if the caliphate comes down, the Ottoman Empire in 1923, there's this final kingdom in the feet that's going to rise. Now, this is interesting about these feet. They're a mix. They're a mix of clay and iron. Now, we know the Ottoman Empire was iron. They were all about crushing and the teeth of Daniel 7 and all that. But it gets whittled down to this clay-iron mixture. Okay, now we see this in this Islamic caliphate. History of Islam, Muhammad begins this religion. He was part of a pagan group out of Mecca, Saudi Arabia. He gets a revelation that he is a prophet. And he goes to the Jews and he claims some of his prophecies, and the Jews reject him. Gets mad at the Jews. He goes to the Christians, gives them some of his prophecies. The Christians reject him because not lining up with the word. He's angry. He's offended. Offense is pretty big. He gets into this cave. He goes on a fast. He goes into a cave. In this cave, he meets this being that grabs him by the neck and tells him, Quran, submit. And he makes him write down the prophecies. Now, Muhammad could not write. He couldn't read or write. But he's forced to write down these prophecies. When he's done, he goes back to his wife. And he says, listen, I'm losing my mind. I wrote this all down. I was in this cave and this all happened. I think I need to be killed. I'm losing my mind or I'm demon possessed. His wife goes, no, no, no. You're a prophet of God. Go back to the cave. He's going to tell you more. This is the story in the Quran. He goes back to the cave. He writes the rest of the Quran. He writes it all out. Now, if you ever try to read the Quran, it's very difficult to read. It's the way it's described to me, because I tried to read it and I can't, and I give up on it. But people that have read it, they've said to me, Muslims, they said it's really fractured. Like, you don't know where you are in the story, and then it jumps to this one thing, and then it jumps over to the other thing, and it's a really thick book. He said it sounds, it's not laid out very well. It's like somebody was forced to write it, okay? So Muhammad does this, and he gets, at first, he's trying to introduce this as a new religion. Nobody's buying in with him, and that's when he gathers an army and he begins conquests, and he's forcing people to join this religion, okay? And that's the conquest of Muhammad. And again, it's mentioned in the Quran. It's not like it's historical, but it's also in that book. And so finally he gets enough conquest where he's actually part of this. Before the Ottomans took over, it was Muhammad's, okay? And then Muhammad dies, young man. He dies, I think, in his late 30s, 40s, 50s. Anyway, he dies of food poisoning. It wasn't even that dramatic. He dies, and now there's a division. And the division is who takes over? Muhammad's family or Muhammad's friends? Of which group do we have a new leader? And it splits Islam in two. The Sunnis and the Shias. That's the split. The Sunnis is a bigger group. About 88% of all Muslims are Sunni. About 12% are Shia. Okay? You have a strong Sunni and you have a fragile Shia. You have iron and you have clay. They mix together. They're not opposed to one another. They have different rules and they have different followings, but ultimately, in the mains of the main, they're together, which is conquest and the destruction of Israel. Okay, that's what they agree on. So Sunni is a lot of Saudi Arabia and Turkey. Shia is almost all Iran. All right, so those are your national characters that we're talking about. Okay, so they would fit in this last section. Okay, and they would be the ones that would be revived. Now, we're going to go a step further because I don't want you just to use this as proof of who these characters are and where they come from. Let's go back to Revelation 13. Because now we have some information about Daniel. And let's try this again. Verse 1. Then I stood on the sand of the sea. I saw a beast rising up out of the sea. A beast is what? An empire. Okay, look at that. Learned a lot already. It's an empire. And of this empire, there's 7 heads. And on the heads are 10 horns. And on the heads, a blasphemous name. Now, what is blaspheme? Do we know what blaspheme is biblically? Who said that? Oh, that was good, Noreen. Go to 1 John. You must have took this class before. Go to 1 John. Chapter 2. Verse 22. Who is a liar? Who is a blasphemer? Who is a liar? but he who denies that Jesus is the Messiah. He is Antichrist, who denies the Father and the Son. Whoever denies the Son does not have the Father either. He who acknowledges the Son has the Father also. Okay, so what is the blaspheme? The blaspheme, the greatest blasphemy. Now we know, do not blaspheme against the Holy Spirit. We know that. Okay, what is blaspheming against the Holy Spirit? Well, why is the Holy Spirit given? Well, first, who gave the Holy Spirit? Jesus. Why? To do something, to reveal Jesus. All right, that's the main objective of the Holy Spirit alive in us, is to reveal Jesus to us. Okay, First John tells us, well, a liar and a blasphemer is he who denies that Jesus is the Messiah and denies the Father, God as the Father, and that God has a Son. Whoever denies that, they're blasphemers, they're liars. Okay. In Islam, the main pillar of Islam is that Allah does not have a son. That's the main pillar. He denies that Allah or God has a son. So important is this pillar that it's written on every mosque. Every mosque on the inside has Arabic words written around the circle of the mosque. And in it, it's saying, God has no son. Allah has no son. It is in direct connection to 1 John 2:22. It's a blaspheme written on every place of Islamic authority. Now, I'm not putting down Islam. I'm not making Islam the bad guy. I'm just giving you the truth. It's as if anything else. It's as if I'm trying to think of the Buddha, right? They deny too, right? And Hare Krishna, they deny it. But they go, we like him. You know, we like Jesus. They'll go that. And they're not making it as a pillar of their religion, number one. Number two, they've never had an empire. They've had small group, but they never had any strength, as in the dreams, iron, shattering, destroying, none of that. So though there are other groups like Jews deny Jesus is Messiah. But Jewish people are, number one, they're the ones that are the people that get delivered. That's number one. Number two, they've never had a conquest in which they shattered, destroyed people. Well, you go, well, they kind of killed the kids, you know, the Amorites and the enemy and Cana, they got rid of them. Okay, but they've not had those dreams of iron, number one. That's actually number two. Number one is they're the chosen people, so this is what the story is about. All right, so they don't qualify. The only ones that really qualify is Islam. And they have these blasphemous names written at their point of authority. Okay, verse 2. Now the beast, the empire, which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. That is direct connection to Daniel 7:46. Daniel 7:46, we won't go there. Go on your own, because I'm just running out of time. 7:46 is a vision that Daniel has that talks about, we went over this, didn't we? The leopard or the lion, the bear, right? It's that composite beast, okay? Brings it from Daniel. Then it says, and then the dragon gives him power, his throne, and his great authority. So who's running the whole thing? Satan. Satan's running the whole thing. He's empowering this empire and this leader to be in a position to be this abomination of desolation. Okay, then it says, I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world marveled. Okay, so we look at that verse, and we go, so this world leader is going to get shot in the head, and somehow he's going to almost die and going to come back to life. Maybe. maybe. But here's something we actually definitely can look at. This empire was mortally wounded in 1923. And suddenly, in our day, this Ottoman Empire is starting to come back to life. The head was wounded for almost how many years? 90 years. 100 years. 100 years. 2023. 100 years. But in the last couple of years, there's this life that's coming out of it, and we're not projecting on it. They want to be the Ottoman Empire. They're confessing we will be the revived Ottoman Empire. So suddenly the wounded head is coming back to life. And the world is marveling at this. Okay, there's a fascination that's happening with Turkey, which is interesting because right now Turkey is in peace talks with Russia and Ukraine. They're brokering the deal. Turkey was involved in the peace talks or the treaty talks with Saudi Arabia and Israel. Who's in the middle of it? Turkey. Turkey's getting involved. Turkey is trying to get a position, a seat in the Quaf, which is that group that runs the Temple Mount. Erdogan is trying to get a position on that council so that it can help run the Temple Mount. He's getting more and more power, and they are a nuclear nation. So they marveled, and they worshiped the dragon who gave authority to the beast. Now, that worship, don't think of like a worship service. Think of they've given homage. They're giving respect to the dragon who gave authority to the beast. Are they directly going to Satan? No, they're giving respect to this system that's being developed. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him? They're actually saying that line in Turkey. Those that are friends with Erdogan, they're actually going, Erdogan, you're reviving the empire. You're going to bring us through. We're going to have our dignity back. The Turks, the Ottoman is going to live again. Who can come against you? We have nuclear weapons. Who can do this? There is this version of this little song that's going on in Turkey. Verse 5. And he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months. All right, now I'm not saying Erdogan, but I'm saying that attitude. Again, if it's Islamic, the blasphemy is built in every time they say a prayer, because the important part of every prayer is that God has no son. Then he opened up his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And authority was given to every tribe, tongue, and given him from every tribe, tongue, and nation. Sounds like the dream in Daniel. And all who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Okay, so everyone that's going to give him any degree of respect are those who's not saved, which means those who are saved should recognize what's going on so that they don't marvel with the rest of the world. That's where this becomes important. If you're ignorant of all of this, you can fall into the marvel, because it is going to be, it's fascinating in a geopolitical place what's going on with Turkey. It's fascinating. It's almost like Israel coming back as a nation. If Ottomans come back as a nation, it's on that same level. It just never happens that way. So those whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life will not follow the beast, will not recognize and give him any kind of homage. Verse 9. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. It's one single verse. Pay attention is what he's saying. This is not secondary information. This is important information. If you have an ear, you should hear this. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints, or perseverance of the saints. Verse 10 is telling us how we are to react. If you think that you need to get a plan to come against this, get weapons, get caves, get underground hideouts, get communities so that you can all come out and come against the enemy, you will die. If you come at him with a sword, you're going to die by the sword. When this happens, the Lord is telling believers, you need patience and perseverance. Not weapons, not warfare, not strategy. You need patience and perseverance. Why? Because this is the Lord's enemy. He's the head crusher, not us. Though we're the object of persecution, we need patience and we need the perseverance during this time. Verse 11. Then I saw another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. So there's another beast, another empire that's rising. He has 2 horns like a lamb. It's a little reference to the real lamb, the slain lamb. But he spoke like a dragon. Who's the dragon? Satan. So he looked like a lamb, spoke like a dragon. He exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence. He causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. He performs great signs so that he makes even fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image of the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. Okay, so now we have this other beast that rises up. He's a leader. Looks like a lamb, talks like a dragon, has signs and wonders associated with him, and his job was to point at the first beast. Okay, so this speaks of the religious aspect of the empire. So this empire isn't just economical like Rome was, but this is an empire that has a religious component to it that makes everybody change their worship. Who did that in the history? Is Islam. They forced those to convert to Islam. Okay, so we're seeing another qualifier here. He performs great signs. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, remember last week? Lying signs and wonders. This one who will sit in the temple will have lying signs and wonders associated with it. Here we are in Revelation 13. This other figure is lying signs and wonders. All right, we call this figure the false prophet. Now it says it later on in the book of Revelation, but that's how we know him. We know the beast, we know the Antichrist, we know the second beast, we know him as the false prophet. And what does he do? He makes an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. He is granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. All right, let's think about this for a second. Right away, we go into like AI. Right, we're thinking, all right, makes an idol. Maybe it's a hologram, but maybe it's an actual mechanical thing. And he puts a computer in it, and now it actually speaks as if it has its own mind. All right, that's the first thought we have. A little far out for me. Could be. I mean, AI is interesting, but it looks like they're putting a lot of controls on it, and I don't think it actually can become to that degree where people won't know it's AI. I don't know. I saw something crazy on I don't know if it was YouTube or one of those little clips, and the guy's, President Biden is speaking, and he's giving this little speech, which I saw him do, and he puts it on pause, and he goes, "That's AI. Look, he's not moving. He's unnatural." I'm going, no, actually, I saw that. I saw that speech. He actually did it. There was like people that witnessed it, right? So AI is still in that realm. Like, it's not that sophisticated. Will it be in the next month? I don't know. Is this talking about AI? I don't know. But if I'm reading it a century ago, if I'm reading it 10 years ago, I'm looking at this as an empire. So if I'm looking at this as an empire and they were to make an image to the beast, they're making an image to the empire. What's the image of an empire? If you have an empire, what would you point that to as the image of that empire? A flag. Every empire has a flag, all right? So could it be that the second beast makes a flag of the Ottoman Caliphate, okay? And then it says, yeah, but he gave breath to the image of the beast. Breath is the word pneuma, or life. He gives life to the image, okay? Does the American flag have life in this way? When you see it, does it speak to you as an American citizen? Yeah, some negative, some positive, but it has life. If we see it desecrated, if you're a patriot, you're like, you can't do that. You can't desecrate the flag because it has life. People died for that flag. Or if you're, against America and you're going, burn the flag, that will teach them. Why? Because there's life in the image of that nation. So it gets a flag, it gives life to the beast so that it should speak. Let's think about that. Does our flag speak? What does it represent? Right? Freedom, liberty, the Constitution, Bill of Rights. We see the flag, that's what it represents. If you have the flag, it represents an army. It represents strength, economy, power. It says these things. That's what it says. So, though I'm not saying, that AI thing, I don't know, but it's definitely within the realm today that what this is talking about is an image, an empire that has great respect in the image and a set of rules attached to the image that people will now have to follow because it causes as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. If you're not giving your homage to that which this flag represents, then you will be killed. That's Islam. Islam does that, or has done that. Verse 16, he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads. There we go. Now we're into it. The mark of the beast. Who's he? The Antichrist, or the false prophet, causes everybody to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark. Or, see, we never go to the next part. Or the name. Or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666. Let's break that down. Are we really talking about a tattooed number on everybody in the world's head and hand? Let's think about this. First of all, let's look at the number 666. Do you have a Bible that has a little footnote number next to the 666? Anybody? Anybody? I usually get one that has a footnote next to the number. I was hoping. Let me give you a second. Nobody yet, huh? Who has it? You have it? Okay. What does it have? Like a number 1? A, letter A, okay. And follow it out. What does it say? Or what? Or humanity's number? Is that what it says? All right. What version is that? New NIV. All right. That's not what I was looking for. There's another one. Humanity's number, 666, right? So that falls into 6 is the number of man, right? So where do they, like 3 is the number of, or 7 is the number of perfection. You ever hear of that stuff? It falls into that. All of that is man-made. Okay. I'm not against using those things, but they're all man-made. There's no chart in the Bible that tells us what numbers mean that. So they're actually using, they're going 666 or the number of humanity, because 666 is the number of a man, but the Bible doesn't tell us that. Get what I'm saying? Okay. What I'm looking for is that there is a footnote. It's definitely in the New American Standard. That's where I've seen it, but it's in a couple of others where there's a little footnote. Next to the 666, you follow it, and it says, or 616. Gives you 2 numbers, 666 or 616. All right, now we have a problem. Because here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast. For it's the number of a man. His number is 666 or 616. Well, how can I calculate the number if the number is floating? Which one is it? Give me something to work with. Well, we don't know. It's 6, whichever one works out, it's that number. All right. So we have a problem already that they're not sure, the translators are not sure what this number is. Well, then that causes to go, well, the Bible's not wrong, so maybe the translation is wrong. Maybe we're looking at it the wrong way. So if you read, here is verse 18, in the Greek, it says, here is wisdom, let him who has understanding. The word calculate is the Greek word for decide. It also means calculate, but it means decide also. Let him who has understanding decide the number. That word number is arithmos in Greek. Arithmos means multitude or group. Here's wisdom. Let him who has understanding decide the multitude of the beast. Decide the group around the beast. For it is the multitude of a man. Let him who has understanding decide the multitude of the beast, for it is the multitude of a single man, and his number is, or his multitude is, or his group is 666. Okay. So now we're not looking at the number as much as we're looking at the people connected to whatever that number represents. You follow me so far? All right. So what the scripture is asking us to figure out is figure out who the multitude is that was connected to a man, and this man's multitude, 666. So the next question becomes, is it 666 or is it 616? And whatever that number is, whether 666, 616, what does that mean in connection to this man? Okay. In chapter 15, God sends an angel out to the earth. Let me see if I can find it real quick. All right, I can't find it right now, and I don't want to waste time looking for it. Oh, there it is. 14. Hey, thank you, Lord. 14 verse 9, a third angel follows, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, He himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. In the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. Okay. Whatever this mark is, 666, 616, whatever it is, it represents something that if you are a part of it, you are committing a blaspheme that there is no forgiveness for. There is no forgiveness for this blaspheme. Do not receive the multitude of those that carry this mark, because if you do, you will be tormented forever, day and night, fire and brimstone. The full wrath of the indignation of God will be poured out on you. Don't take the mark. And God sends an angel, and an angel is announcing this to the earth. Don't take the mark. Don't be a part of this multitude. Get out of her. Whatever you do, don't be a part of this. The full indignation of God will be poured out on you. Okay. So it's not as important to know the number as it is to know the multitude. You need to know the group that this is talking about. Now, you take this all into consideration. Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Revelation 13. Put that all into consideration. It points to one multitude. And now I'm not talking about individuals. I'm not saying that Islam is a bunch of Satan worshipers. That's not what I'm saying. But the scripture is saying that God is going to use one particular set of beliefs that Satan is going to utilize to bring about his purposes, in which the Satan gets crushed, that this head of Satan gets crushed. You see how that? You understand that? It's as bad as being a secularist. It's as bad as not having anything. If you die without Jesus, doesn't matter what religion you are. You don't get points because you're really devout in a certain religion. You need your name written in the Lamb's Book of Life. So that's what we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is there will be one set of beliefs and circumstances upon the earth in which God says you cannot get involved with. Don't get involved in it. If you do and you buy into that multitude, then the full indignation of God's wrath will be poured out upon you. That's the summary of all of that. So what does Satan do? He tries to get us interested in the mark. He puts all of our focus on the mark. So what are we all doing? We're going, it's not a religious belief. It's not a group of people. It's this humanist secularism that gonna get, well, back in my day, in the 70s, they're gonna put a barcode on your hand. Don't get a credit card. Now, we shouldn't have gotten credit cards anyway. But back in the 70s, I was a little kid, there was one credit card. I think there was two. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was MasterCard. MasterCard came out. They're going, look, see, Master. I'm telling you, that was the truth. Master, and see that thing on the back? That thing you slide has all the information. They're going to put that right on your hand and your head. And now you're going to have this black bar on your hand and your head. You're walking around because you can't buy or sell without it. And then it went into the barcode. It went from the credit card, because now they're going, MasterCard's not bad. And now Visa. Visa's not, let's get Visa. It's at least not Master. All right? Credit cards aren't bad. Well, now it's the barcode. I'm going to put barcode, tattoo barcodes. And then the image of the movies came out, and I saw it. I saw them get the barcode on their heads. I saw the movie. Thief of the Night, Image of the Beast. That was the name of these two movies. And then they went, it's not practical to get everyone to get tattooed. We're going to get the microchip. Now they're putting a microchip on, all right? And then the microchip, the RFID chip. And now it's nanobots. Am I saying that right? They're going to inject you through a vaccine, probably the COVID vaccine. That's going to put these nano things in your blood system. And don't you see what's going on? Everything is focused on how not to do. I remember this poor woman called me during the COVID stuff. She was so upset, crying. I didn't know. I took the vaccine and now I'm part of the beast. I'm never gonna. I mean, she was really upset. I'm going, oh, sister, please don't. That's the condemnation of the devil. You are not going to feel the wrath of God. You didn't take the mark of the beast. Don't worry. But why? Because we're all focused on that. And Satan's kind of going, ringing the bell over. Shiny, shiny object. Shiny object. Look at this, 666. Don't get your grocery bill with it. Don't put your house number on it. 666. The whole time he's going, the multitude is what we're concerned with. Don't get involved in the multitude because the multitude is a blaspheme. And if you blaspheme God, there's no forgiveness in that blaspheme. What is the blaspheme? God has no son. That's it. So that's what we're talking about. So when I was saying, I'm going to tell you who the Antichrist is, this is what I'm trying to point you to. We don't know who the person's going to be, but it's not as important as knowing the multitude. Verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding decide the multitude of this beast, the group around the beast. He is the multitude of one man. Muhammad is his prophet. One man, and his multitude is blaspheme. The multitude is around the blaspheme. And whatever that blaspheme is, whatever that number represents, however that. But what about buy and sell? Yeah, do you know how hard it is if you're not Muslim to buy in an Islamic country? You get overtaxed. But if you're part of the number of that group, you don't pay that tax. All right, so there is a buy and sell component. Will that whole world be affected by that? No. Will be affected because things will be expensive. But are we going to have our local ShopRite, the scanner, or they're going to check if you're a Muslim or not? No, that's not going to happen here. It'll be worse. Everything's going to be triple price. Everything's going to be, because why? Jesus said that. He said, remember, in the birth pangs, it's going to be famine. Everything's going to cost a lot. Everything is going to go up in price. Why? Now let's get practical here in the last couple of minutes I have. Why is that going to happen? Well, because where is most of the oil produced? Saudi Arabia, mostly. Most that Middle East area. Saudi Arabia is the biggest, though. They control energy. Energy controls economy. So whoever controls energy controls economy. When we were digging more and we had more wells, we were doing much better financially when we were energy independent for a couple of years, just a couple of years ago. Doing much better. Now we're going, shut everything down. Let's go electric. That's costing us a fortune. Nobody can buy an electric car. If you can, bravo. 60, 70,000. Okay, you're doing pretty good. But you're going to be sitting for 30 minutes trying to charge the thing while I just filled up for 5 minutes and drive past you. It's still the most economical thing to do is oil. I don't see that changing too much in the near future. Maybe it will. I don't know. But whoever controls that controls economy. Who's going to control the batteries? China. All right, so China has everything set up in which they will control the economy of the batteries and that production. So my point is that there are really bad groups of people in charge of world economies and world systems, all right? And that's what's going to cause the effect all over the world. When those groups are in a certain degree of power and the other groups that were in power are no longer in power, it's going to affect the entirety of the globe in that way. So those that are closest to it, that won't be able to buy or sell, is going to be really affected by it. Those that are farther away from it will also be affected by it, but in a different way. And that's the way I believe we need to look at these things. Okay? So I got one more session to do on this. We're not going to do it now, of course, but I want you to try to remember this and think about this. We're not meeting next week. Signs and Wonders next week. So we come back in 2 weeks. So you got a lot of time to look things up. I don't care if you go on YouTube and find a bunch of different views. Do that. That's fine if you want to. And then we could come back and discuss it. But we're going to go one more step because we have this other thing coming up called Mystery Babylon and the mother of all harlots. Where are we going with all of that? What's that character about? It's directly connected to the Antichrist and the beast and the nations involved. So we'll see that the next time. Okay, Pastor Bernie. That was a lot. Yeah, it was all right. I usually do that in 2 sessions, but we're just running out of summer. so I apologize if that was a lot, but okay.
And not being able to be here next week is like torture. Got to wait for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's
Terrible
a bummer.
cliffhanger.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right, guys. So if you have any questions, you want to raise your hand, I'll come over with the microphone because we do have a viewing audience online, and we want to make sure that they can hear the questions. So go ahead and just raise your hand, and I'll come around if you have any questions about tonight's teaching. Over here.
Hi, so I wanted to ask a question. I know because I kind of follow things and somewhat. So with Turkey, I know they were really I think it was Erdogan himself. He was really interested in joining the European Union, and at this point, and I know that they are part of the European Union at this point, aren't they?
Turkey?
Yeah.
I think they've been in and out. The European, well, okay, go ahead, though.
Yeah,
all right.
so
I have a comment on the European Union.
So I'm just thinking with them being interested in joining the European Union, or at least wanting to get in, and I know that as far as, isn't it within Islam that they want to convert the whole world and for Islam?
Sure.
Right? So just
I think most religions.
Because I think within Europe also kind of fall maybe as part of becoming into the empire that's to come, or
are you asking, is Europe susceptible to being
I guess that's my question.
part of an Islamic caliphate?
Yeah. Because of these,
I think it's going to be really tough for that to happen because of the European powers. There is a lot of power in European nations, and they do have a lot of economy. I would think, this isn't Bible, this is my opinion, I would think that Europe is going to suffer more in the economic part than the warfare part. War costs a lot of money, and I think it would probably be better for Europe to fall economically, which they're already doing. They're having a hard time economically. The European Union, when it was first established, everyone is pointing at that as being the 10-nation confederacy. And then they got 11 nations. Now I think they're up to 25. So that kind of really fell apart. And the reason why is because of the Rome idea. The reason why they were looked at the 10 nations is because they're looking for a revived Rome. Okay? So it has to be Europe. They're not paying attention to anything Middle East. Middle East, that'll never happen. There's nothing to revive in the Middle East. But Rome, who's been gone for 1,800 years, they're going to revive. It doesn't make sense. So that's why everyone was looking at Europe. But they're not. There's not one scripture, not one in the Bible that talks about Europe in any sense of the word. I gave you this paper. We didn't get to go over it. You got to bring it in 2 weeks. I'll have more copies then. But I have highlighted all of the nations that will be at war with Israel. And you see them, turn the page on the bottom, on this back of page 1. Ezekiel 32, 17 through 32. Ezekiel has a vision in which all the names of the nations are listed that will go into the lake of fire. And these are the nations that are the Antichrist nations. There is actually, when you combine Ezekiel 30 with Ezekiel 32, there's 10 of them. We're talking about Egypt, Cush, which is Sudan, Libya, Turkey, North Africa, Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Morocco, Sudan, Tunisia. Look at chapter 32. Assyria, Elam, Meshach Tubal, which is Turkey, Edom, the chiefs of the north, Lebanon, the Mediterranean coast, the coastland of Lebanon. All of these are the nations that buy in with the Antichrist nation that attack Israel. I don't see Germany. There's no mention, and not even using their modern names. There's no Germanic tribes. There's no, whatever the Russians were called. I think, I'm not sure what they were called. Almost had it. Anyway, none of that is mentioned. They were all in existence during this time, but none of them are mentioned as the empire or the nations that will come up against Israel. So it has to be a Mid-East buy-in. And there's prophecy after prophecy that Israel, you will be attacked by the nations that surround you. The ones that surround you. Now, will Russia have buy-in? Will America have buy-in? Yeah, there's going to be buy-in by the nature of geopolitical connections. But the ones that the Bible is actually pointing at, every one of them are Islamic. Every nation mentioned is an Islamic nation, and all of them surround Israel. Okay? So that's the answer and a little more. Okay.
Any other questions? Just to follow up with that same question, I think, and maybe you can just kind of confirm that, does that also speak into the idea that you have always mentioned to us that, Israel is the center where the rock is dropped.
Right.
And so it just kind of precipitates out. So really Europe is out of the purview of the prophetic history or all prophecy in general for the most part.
Yeah,
correct?
for the most part. Yeah. So people go, where's America in prophecy? It's not in prophecy.
Right.
Where's Europe in prophecy? It's not in prophecy. But that doesn't mean it's not affected by prophecy at all. The whole world is affected by this. Everything will be affected by it. But it's just not part of the prophecy. So people go, well, the lion is Britain, and the bear is Russia, and the eagle is America. Where do you get that? Well, that's because that's the flags. That's the flags today. But in Bible time, those weren't the flags. So we're prophesying the flags. Yeah, but none of them are mentioned as nations. The nations that attack Israel are the ones that surround her, and all of them are Islamic. And Islam is the qualifier for the nation of the. Well, you know what? I'm going to go one more step with you because you got to see this. Go to 17, Revelation 17. Verse 9. It's another one of those, here's a mind that has wisdom. Here's the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. We're going to get to this next time we meet, but I want to show you now. They are also 7 kings. All right, now this is talking about Israel, not Babylon. They are 7 kings. 5 have fallen. 1 is, and the other has not yet come. All right, what are the 5 kingdoms that were that took over Israel but have fallen? Start with Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. Greece, that's 5. And then he goes, and then 1 is. What is the empire that was during John's time? Who was occupying Israel? Rome. All right, so that's 6. The other, the 7th, has not yet come. Okay. But when he comes, he's going to be for a short time. Verse 11, the beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th and is of the 7. Okay, so what are we talking about here? We got 5. We got Rome as 6. We got 1 that's coming, which is 7. What's the 7th? The Islamic Caliphate. Then there is the 8th that's going to come, and this is the beast empire. The 8th is of the 7th. If the Islamic Caliphate is the 7th, then what is the 8th? A revived Islamic Caliphate, not a revived Roman Empire. If it was a revived Roman Empire, then this would read like this. 1 is, who is that? Rome. And 1 has not yet come. Who's that? Rome. And when he comes, he's going to continue a short time. And the beast that was and is not is also the 8th. And as of the 7, who's that? Rome. 6, 7, and 8 are all Rome. And there is no Rome. There's no Roman Empire. There's not a hint of a Roman Empire. All right, so it can't be Rome. But if the one is Rome, because that's John's time, the one that is coming is the next empire, which is the Islamic Caliphate. That's 7. And the beast empire that's coming, the 8th one, is part of the 7. Who is the 7? Islamic Caliphate. It fits. It fits perfectly, and we see it in our time. If we're waiting for Rome, you got a long wait. It takes a long time to come from nothing at all and then have an army big enough to conquer the world. Israel can't do that. The only reason why Israel is in the position they're in is because of America. They will not go in against Israel because of America. One tries, and what do? We're going to Egypt, back off during the Yom Kippur War. We're going to Lebanon. Don't do it. You're going to be starved out. We'll starve you out. This is why all those wars were so short, because they were fearful of what America was going to do. All right, there is not a hint of a Roman Empire being revived that will have the backing like Israel has the backing of America. It's not going to happen. So who is this? What are we talking about? We're talking about Islamic Caliphate. It's at our door. We're looking at it. We can point at it. We can see it. We can see the characters coming alive. Economically, geopolitically, it all fits in. And prophetically, it fits in. All right, that's next. That's in 2 weeks. We'll do that again in 2 weeks. All right. Any other questions? Thank you for that. I wouldn't have slept tonight if I had that still in my head. Any others? Really? Oh, come on. Go ahead, David. Israel. No. You're always good for a question. All right, well, okay, Bernie.
Almost like a spoiler alert. The next class is crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You don't want to miss the next class. I know what I wish we would have had time tonight to talk about it.
Yeah.
But to see the connections between the Caliphate and how their eschatology matches up with ours is a crazy, crazy class.
In 2 weeks, we're going to take it another step. We're going to do the parallels between the Islamic eschatology and Judeo-Christian eschatology. There's an amazing parallel that will once again kind of go, I got to look at this. I got to decide the multitude of the man. So we'll do that in 2 weeks.
The final question. So organizations like the United Nations or even the European Union, while they are not the fulfillment of prophecy, would you say or agree that the fact that the nations are interested in just unifying and becoming one and finding some sort of unified expression, even the New World Order language that you hear today, does that not indicate that the world is primed for a leader like an Antichrist to rise up and lead the world in something that seems to be like a peace in a very hostile region?
Yeah. My opinion, it's my opinion. One world government, new world order is all political jargon. Nobody. There will never be that type of unity on the earth without the unity that Islam represents. Because Islam represents a religious unity and a governmental unity and an economical unity, they will be able to unify Sunni and Shia, even though they have differences. I do not see a secular humanistic mindset ever unifying other than in the minds of politicians. It's not going to happen. There's just too much corruption. There's too much backdoor meetings. There's not enough glue in unity that will hold that group together. In Islamic unity, they can have divisions among them, but there's one thing that will always bring them together: the destruction of Israel. It will always bring unity to the factions of Islam, which there are many. There are many. I mean, Turkey hates Iran. They are against each other, but they're not going to war. Why? Because of Israel. Saudi Arabia will not go to war with anybody in the Middle East because of Israel. All right, there's not going to be a secular unifying position like that in the governments that we see today. That's my answer to that. That's my opinion.
That's so good. Guys, we thank Gary for tonight's class.
Amen.
We remind you again, there will be no class next week, but we'll be back in 2 weeks, same time, same day, 6:30 on Thursday evening, and we'll see you all then. Have a great night, everyone.
Hi, I'm Addie, Director of the Children's Equipping Center here at IHOP Eastern Gate and mother of 4. As a parent, when I look around at the events in our world and the heart values and attitudes that are prevailing in our culture, evil being called good and good, evil language is changing, and everyone does what is right in their own eyes. I am convinced that this generation of children are called to live in some considerably dark times. And I'm challenged in knowing that I will not be able to shield them from all of that. But what I can do, by the grace of God, is to let there be light. John encourages us to walk in the light as God is light. And that kind of light, that's the kind of light that darkness cannot, is unable to prevail against. This includes our children. So I want to make a call this year to parents, aunts, uncles, friends, neighbors in the region. If you share this burden for young lives to encounter the light of Christ, I encourage you to sign up for Signs and Wonders Children's Conference this year, themed Let There Be Light. This is a conference designed to equip children. We'll have our kickoff service and then 3 packed days of encountering the Lord through worship, through teaching, ministry, outdoor activities, and time in the prayer room, learning to be discerning and connecting with God for themselves. Our guest speaker, Lenny LaGuardia, will be sharing and giving practical instructions surrounding the laying of hands and healing, all of this culminating up until the last night, in which it is the children that will be laying hands and praying for the sick. There's also a parent track that is running parallel, and I want you to stay tuned for that. More information will be coming up in the weeks ahead. Signs and Wonders 2023 will start on July 25th, that Tuesday night at 7 p.m., and will run through the 28th. Children will not be on the sidelines of what God is doing in these days. Their hearts will burn for Jesus. They will have oil for bright lit lamps, even in the midnight hour. So sign up for Signs and Wonders 2023 and let there be light.
Hey there, I'm Pastor Bernie, and this is my wife Lorraine. And we are thrilled to invite you to an event that will inform and impact the way you approach parenting. The Parent Track for Signs and Wonders is designed to equip parents like you with the tools and the knowledge that you need to raise your children all the way from the crib to college successfully.
Get ready for an amazing 3 days packed with 7 insightful sessions. We'll cover everything from the early years to the challenges of adolescence, helping you navigate every stage of parenting with confidence.
And we know how busy life can get, so we've got you covered. Each session will be held twice a day at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., giving you the flexibility to choose the time that works best for you.
And this is my favorite part, we've secured an incredible venue for this event. The Homewood Suites by Hilton, which is just down the street from IHOP Eastern Gate, will be our home for these 3 days.
Now, our lineup of topics is diverse and designed to share biblical wisdom and practical advice. You will learn about developing character, communicating effectively, and navigating all those challenges in between.
Yeah, we believe that every parent deserves support on this incredible journey. The Signs and Wonders Parent Track is your opportunity to connect with like-minded parents and gain valuable insights from our time together.
So, mark your calendars for July 26th through the 28th and get ready for an unforgettable experience. Invest in your family's future and lead with renewed confidence in your parenting abilities.
Join us for the Parent Track, where parenting becomes an empowering journey, and you'll be equipped to navigate the path ahead with strength and wisdom. Visit our website or call our office to secure your spot today. Link for all of the information is in the bio. See you there.
I'm Joel Pixoto, Director of Student Forerunner Ministries here at IHOP Eastern Gate.
And I'm Belle Diabreu, Youth Leader for SFM. We're inviting all the youth in this New York, New Jersey region to an unforgettable summer intensive taking place this August 14th to 18th.
We're elated about this year's theme, Sojourners. And for those who perhaps are not all caught up in their thesaurus, what are sojourners, Belle? Like, so I'm going on this journey?
Well, not quite, Joel, but you're in the neighborhood. Sojourners are synonymous with foreigners or strangers. To the world, we're just that, strangers who don't belong. But on God's agenda, in our journey of faith, we're passing through this life with the great purpose of pointing others to his son, Jesus.
Well said, Belle. As believers, we're called to be set apart to make a lasting impact. Abraham sojourned in Egypt, as did Joseph and his brothers. And on occasions, we see the whole of Israel sojourning in Egypt and Babylon. As Jesus alluded to when he prayed for his disciples, we're in this world but not of it. We're just passing through, like a connecting flight. But what does that mean for us? What are we to do in our sojourning? You'll have to come to this year's intensive.
Yeah, and as in previous times, this year's intensive will have a variety of fun sports activities for the youth, each day broken up into powerful times of worship, prayer, deep biblical teachings, interactive games, and small groups, to name a few. You will not want to miss out on this remarkable, life-changing week.
We're in sky-high expectation of what God is going to do in our midst. Register now. Youth Intensive taking place right here, IHOP Eastern Gate. Meet us here, fellow sojourners.
We're now boarding.
Hi, I'm Addie, Director of the Children's Equipping Center here at IHOP Eastern Gate and mother of 4. As a parent, when I look around at the events in our world and the heart values and attitudes that are prevailing in our culture, evil being called good and good, evil language is changing, and everyone does what is right in their own eyes. I am convinced that this generation of children are called to live in some considerably dark times. And I'm challenged in knowing that I will not be able to shield them from all of that. But what I can do, by the grace of God, is to let there be light. John encourages us to walk in the light as God is light. And that kind of light, that's the kind of light that darkness cannot, is unable to prevail against. And this includes our children. So I want to make a call this year to parents, aunts, uncles, friends, neighbors in the region. If you share this burden for young lives to encounter the light of Christ, I encourage you to sign up for Signs and Wonders Children's Conference this year, themed Let There Be Light. This is a conference designed to equip children. We'll have our kickoff service and then 3 packed days of encountering the Lord through worship, through teaching, ministry, outdoor activities, and time in the prayer room, learning to be discerning and connecting with God for themselves. Our guest speaker, Lenny LaGuardia, will be sharing and giving practical instructions surrounding the laying of hands and healing, all of this culminating up until the last night, in which it is the children that will be laying hands and praying for the sick. There's also a parent track that is running parallel, and I want you to stay tuned for that. More information will be coming up in the weeks ahead. Signs and Wonders 2023 will start on July 25th, that Tuesday night at 7 p.m., and will run through the 28th. Children will not be on the sidelines of what God is doing in these days. Their hearts will burn for Jesus. They will have oil for bright lit lamps, even in the midnight hour. So sign up for Signs and Wonders 2023 and let there be light.
Hey there, I'm Pastor Bernie, and this is my wife Lorraine. And we are thrilled to invite you to an event that will inform and impact the way you approach parenting. The Parent Track for Signs and Wonders is designed to equip parents like you with the tools and the knowledge that you need to raise your children all the way from the crib to college successfully.
Get ready for an amazing 3 days packed with 7 insightful sessions. We'll cover everything from the early years to the challenges of adolescence, helping you navigate every stage of parenting with confidence.
And we know how busy life can get, so we've got you covered. Each session will be held twice a day at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., giving you the flexibility to choose the time that works best for you.
And this is my favorite part, we've secured an incredible venue for this event. The Homewood Suites by Hilton, which is just down the street from IHOP Eastern Gate, will be our home for these 3 days.
Now, our lineup of topics is diverse and designed to share biblical wisdom and practical advice. You will learn about developing character, communicating effectively, and navigating all those challenges in between.
Yeah, we believe that every parent deserves support on this incredible journey. The Signs and Wonders Parent Track is your opportunity to connect with like-minded parents and gain valuable insights from our time together.
So, mark your calendars for July 26th through the 28th and get ready for an unforgettable experience. Invest in your family's future and leave with renewed confidence in your parenting abilities.
Join us for the Parent Track, where parenting becomes an empowering journey, and you'll be equipped to navigate the path ahead with strength and wisdom. Visit our website or call our office to secure your spot today. Link for all of the information is in the bio. See you there.
I'm Joel Pixoto, Director of Student Forerunner Ministries here at IHOP Eastern Gate.
And I'm Beldia Abreu, Youth Leader for SFM. We're inviting all the youth in this New York, New Jersey region to an unforgettable summer intensive taking place this August 14th to 18th.
We're elated about this year's theme, Sojourners. And for those who perhaps are not all caught up in their thesaurus, what are sojourners, Belle? Like, so I'm going on this journey?
Well, not quite, Joel, but you're in the neighborhood. Sojourners are synonymous with foreigners or strangers. To the world, we're just that, strangers who don't belong. But on God's agenda, in our journey of faith, we're passing through this life with the great purpose of pointing others to His Son, Jesus.
Well said, Belle. As believers, we're called to be set apart to make a lasting impact. Abraham sojourned in Egypt, as did Joseph and his brothers. And on occasions, we see the whole of Israel sojourning in Egypt and Babylon. As Jesus alluded to when he prayed for his disciples, we're in this world but not of it, just passing through like a connecting flight. But what does that mean for us? What are we to do in our sojourning? You'll have to come to this year's intensive.
Yeah, and as in previous times, this year's intensive will have a variety of fun sports activities for the youth, each day broken up into powerful times of worship, prayer, deep biblical teachings, interactive games, and small groups, to name a few. You will not want to miss out on this remarkable, life-changing week.
We're in sky-high expectation of what God is going to do in our midst. Register now. Youth Intensive taking place right here, IHOP Eastern Gate. Meet us here, fellow sojourners.
We're now boarding.
Hi, I'm Addie, Director of the Children's Equipping Center here at IHOP Eastern Gate and mother of 4. As a parent, when I look around at the events in our world and the heart values and attitudes that are prevailing in our culture, evil being called good and good, evil language is changing, and everyone does what is right in their own eyes. I am convinced that this generation of children are called to live in some considerably dark times. And I'm challenged in knowing that I will not be able to shield them from all of that. But what I can do, by the grace of God, is to let there be light. John encourages us to walk in the light as God is light. And that kind of light, that's the kind of light that darkness cannot, is unable to prevail against. This includes our children. So I want to make a call this year to parents, aunts, uncles, friends, neighbors in the region. If you share this burden for young lives to encounter the light of Christ, I encourage you to sign up for Signs and Wonders Children's Conference this year, themed Let There Be Light. This is a conference designed to equip children. We'll have our kickoff service and then 3 packed days of encountering the Lord through worship, through teaching, ministry, outdoor activities, and time in the prayer room, learning to be discerning and connecting with God for themselves. Our guest speaker, Lenny LaGuardia, will be sharing and giving practical instructions surrounding the laying of hands and healing, all of this culminating up until the last night, in which it is the children that will be laying hands and praying for the sick. There's also a parent track that is running parallel, and I want you to stay tuned for that. More information will be coming up in the weeks ahead. Signs and Wonders 2023 will start on July 25th, that Tuesday night at 7 p.m., and will run through the 28th. Children will not be on the sidelines of what God is doing in these days. Their hearts will burn for Jesus. They will have oil for bright lit lamps, even in the midnight hour. So sign up for Signs and Wonders 2023 and let there be light.
Hey there, I'm Pastor Bernie, and this is my wife Lorraine. And we are thrilled to invite you to an event that will inform and impact the way you approach parenting. The Parent Track for Signs and Wonders is designed to equip parents like you with the tools and the knowledge that you need to raise your children all the way from the crib to college successfully.
Get ready for an amazing 3 days packed with 7 insightful sessions. We'll cover everything from the early years to the challenges of adolescence, helping you navigate every stage of parenting with confidence.
And we know how busy life can get, so we've got you covered. Each session will be held twice a day at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., giving you the flexibility to choose the time that works best for you.
And this is my favorite part, we've secured an incredible venue for this event. The Homewood Suites by Hilton, which is just down the street from IHOP Eastern Gate, will be our home for these 3 days.
Now, our lineup of topics is diverse and designed to share biblical wisdom and practical advice. You will learn about developing character, communicating effectively, and navigating all those challenges in between.
Yeah, we believe that every parent deserves support on this incredible journey. The Signs and Wonders Parent Track is your opportunity to connect with like-minded parents and gain valuable insights from our time together.
So, mark your calendars for July 26th through the 28th and get ready for an unforgettable experience. Invest in your family's future and leave with renewed confidence in your parenting abilities.
Join us for the Parent Track, where parenting becomes an empowering journey, and you'll be equipped to navigate the path ahead with strength and wisdom. Visit our website or call our office to secure your spot today. Link for all of the information is in the bio. See you there.
I'm Joel Pixoto, Director of Student Forerunner Ministries here at IHOP Eastern Gate.
And I'm Belle Diabreu, Youth Leader for SFM. We're inviting all the youth in this New York, New Jersey region to an unforgettable summer intensive taking place this August 14th to 18th.
We're elated about this year's theme, Sojourners. And for those who perhaps are not all caught up in their thesaurus, what are sojourners, Belle? Like, so I'm going on this journey?
Well, not quite, Joel, but you're in the neighborhood. Sojourners are synonymous with foreigners or strangers. To the world, we're just that, strangers who don't belong. But on God's agenda, in our journey of faith, we're passing through this life with the great purpose of pointing others to his son, Jesus.
Well said, Belle. As believers, we're called to be set apart to make a lasting impact. Abraham sojourned in Egypt, as did Joseph and his brothers. And on occasions, we see the whole of Israel sojourning in Egypt and Babylon. As Jesus alluded to when he prayed for his disciples, we're in this world but not of it. We're just passing through, like a connecting flight. But what does that mean for us? What are we to do in our sojourning? You'll have to come to this year's intensive.
Yeah, and as in previous times, this year's intensive will have a variety of fun sports activities for the youth, each day broken up into powerful times of worship, prayer, deep biblical teachings, interactive games, and small groups, to name a few. You will not want to miss out on this remarkable, life-changing week.
We're in sky-high expectation of what God is going to do in our midst. Register now. Youth Intensive taking place right here, IHOP Eastern Gate. Meet us here, fellow sojourners.
We're now boarding.